Good morning, everyone. So, in the last session, we discussed about the one of the important concept to call string buffer, and today we'll discuss another important section called collection frameworks here. Okay, so this is the important session we are going to discuss here. First, we'll try to identify what are all the classes and interfaces we are having inside this particular collection interfaces. Okay, later we'll try to identify the implementation classes. Now, what I will do for this particular section, I'm going to create a one class here. Sorry, one package I'm going to create here. So based on this particular package, we'll try to use all the classes here. Okay, so let me create a package. So collection framework. Okay, so this is the package we'll use, and inside this particular package, we'll try to create all the classes and interfaces. For this, I'm going to use the one text file here, something like a collection.txt file. So this particular txt file will contain all the information related, what are the interfaces and the method which we are going to discuss here. Okay. So now if you observe carefully, this particular the classes and interfaces we are going to use inside this particular package called java.util package. Okay. So this particular package, as I suggested, it contains the classes as well as interfaces. Okay, so this particular the classes and interface, it is used to work on the multiple example, like multiple values we are going to store here. Okay, so each class will contain the multiple values. So how we are going to store this particular multiple values, we'll try to identify by seeing this particular section of classes. Now observe carefully what are the first interface here. First interface is the collection. Okay, collection. Now, if I'm going to explain this particular collection, now you can see collection is an interface which is coming from the java.util package. Now, if I'm going to open this particular interface, so it is extending because it is a iterable is one of the another interface here. Okay, another interface. Now you can see what is the method it is having, iterator. Okay, so using this particular iterator, now what we will do, we'll try to override the method. Get in the bend. Now this is the one of the functional interface. This is one of the functional interface. Now only one method we are having here. Get in the bed. So one method we are having as a abstract method, and another method, if you see, this is the default method. Okay, and here one more method we are having. This also default method. Get in the bed. This is one of the important section we need to understand, and this section of code we can go for the we can use this particular section of code inside this particular lambda as well as inside this particular method references. Okay, so now we understand here. So this is the collection interface. Now it is extending this particular interface called iterable. Now what we need to understand, whenever it is extending this collection interface, so it contains the important method called iterator. Okay, one of the important method called iterator. So first we'll see what exactly this particular collection will contain here. Okay, collection will contain, and all the classes, whatever the classes we are having here, all the classes are internally, it is implementing this particular package, sorry, this particular interface here. Now you can see this. So what exactly this particular collection interface will do here? If you read this particular section of code, you can easily understand here. This is the root interface. Okay, so just I'm giving the basic introduction about this particular interface. So this particular root interface, so it is going to contain the collection represents a group of objects known as the elements here. Getting the point. So this is the topmost interface. It's contain the group of object as well as this object we are going to call it as a elements here. Okay, some collections can contain the duplicate elements here, and some collections cannot contain the duplicate elements here. But all the collections by default, it's implement and it will extend from this particular collection interface. Okay, and now you can see some of the order collection, some of the unordered collection. Getting the point. So this is the some information we are finding from this particular interface called collection interface. Now you can understand here. This is one of the important interface here. Now I'm going to write here, and here we discuss about the generic concept here, collection. Okay. So and here what we'll identify here, we'll try to discuss about the methods. What are the methods we are having inside this particular collection interface? Now if you see this, what are the method we are having? So if you read this particular introduction, you can easily understand what is the purpose of this particular collection. Okay, but we'll identify by seeing this particular each and every method. So this is the section only. So in the tab, it's defined the information about this particular collection interface. Now first method, size method. Okay, size method. What exactly the size will do? Now you can see return the number of element in this collection. So how many elements we are going to store? The how many elements are available inside this particular collection? It will try to return the count of the particular elements here. Okay. So if this particular collection contain more than max value, getting the point. So if it is contain more than the integer dot max value, so it will return the this particular max value only. Getting the point. So this is the maximum size here. This is the maximum size of this particular elements here. But most of the cases we are not going to use, but it is giving me a suggestion. If you're trying to insert more than the max size of this particular integer, we'll try to get only the integer max size here. Okay, now you can see this. So size is a method and it is trying to return the int. And this is the abstract method. Getting the point. This is the abstract method we need to understand here because this particular method we did not implement it. Now you can see another method. Another method now you can see is empty. So what exactly the is empty method is checking here? So it's return true if the collection contain no elements. Getting the point. So this method will return true if we are not inserting any values, like if no values are available, or we can call it as a no elements are available inside this particular collection. This particular is empty method will return as a true. Okay. So this is the another method. Now you can see another important method contains it. Contains method. So this is the by naming like a name of this particular each and every method, we can easily understand what is the purpose of this particular method here. Now you can see, so it is also it's returning the true if this collection contain the specified object, or we can call it as a specified element here. So specified is nothing but if you are trying to provide in this particular parameter. Okay, so whatever the parameter we are providing, if this particular parameter will contain specified element here, so it is going to return true. So otherwise, it will return the false. Getting the point. And these are all the parameter, and internally it will try to throw an exceptions. So it will throw class exception. This section exception we already discussed in the exception handling, and null pointer exception also it is going to throw an error. Okay, but what is returning here? It is trying to return the collection contain the specified elements. True, it will return. And param, O is the element whose presence in the collection. Okay, it is a objective parameter. We can pass any object information, but the particular object should available inside the collection. Then only it will return true. Otherwise, it will return false. Okay, so each and every method we need to write like this. What all the parameter will do, and what all the if the method will throw any exception, we need to write like this. And if the method will return something, we should define like this here. Okay, this is one of the important we need to understand. Okay, this is one of the important information we need to understand inside this particular comment section. Okay, this is the multi-line comment here. Now you can see what we are doing here. So we identify the is empty and contains method. Now I'm moving into so iterator. So from where it is coming this particular iterator, because collection now is extended one of the another interface called iterable. Okay, one of the another interface called iterable. From this particular iterable, we are having one method the method we are going to override here. So what is the method here? Something like a iterator. The iterator, it is trying to return the object called iterator. Okay, this is the name of the method and this is the type here. So what is the type it is? Now you can see, again this is the one of the interface here. Again this is one of the interface. How many methods we are having? Now you can see has next method, and so default method, it is a remove method. Now you can see this is also default method for each remaining. Now we have a two default method, two abstract method. So this is not a functional interface. Okay, functional interface should be only one abstract method. But here right now we are having two abstract methods. So has next and next here. Okay, this is important method we need to understand. Now you can see here the return type here it is we are providing as a E. E is nothing but element. From where it is coming? From this particular generic type. Okay, here we provided one of the important concept called generic here. Now you can read one of the method, everything it will give you the information like this here. So first we will see the has next method, what is doing internally. Now it is trying to return the true value. Okay, it will try to return the true, and when if the iteration has more element. Whenever this particular iterator is having more element, so each time we are going to check this particular method has next method. If this particular collection, or we can call it as if this particular iteration having more element, it will try to return the true. Okay, and this will try to call inside this particular loop, because we are going to call multiple times this particular has next method. So once it is returns to, now what happens internally, we'll call the next method. The next element, it will try to return the original object, because in the iterator we'll try to write the specified type here. It's trying to returning the specified type here. Okay, this is one of the important section we need to understand. What exactly the iterator will do? We'll try to identify the implementation about this particular iterator. But first we need to understand what are all the methods we are having. Okay, so whenever we are calling this particular iterator, so this is an object we are going to get. Again, this particular interface will contain this particular two methods. Okay, now we'll see this, and now you can see this next method is throwing an exception. Okay, it is trying to return the next element of this particular iteration, and this has next method, it is not going to throw any exceptions here. Only it will return the true or false value. It will return the true or false value. Okay, this is the one of the iterator concept here. Now I'm going back to this. So we discuss about this particular iterator. Now we'll identify the two array. So two array, what happens in this particular two array? It will try to returning the all the collections, like whatever the elements we are going to store inside this particular collection, all the values basically it will try to return as a object array. Okay, it will try to return as a object array. Okay, this is we'll discuss later. So it's like a string array. Whenever we are discussing about the string concept, we can use the two array. It will try to convert the two char array. So it is all the string values. Now internally it is converted into the character. Same way, whenever we are trying to call this particular two array, all the elements are converted into the object array format. So we'll say this particular implementation, how this particular implementation is done. Okay, now we'll move on to the another important method, something like, now you can see this is the type we are providing for this particular method. Again we are calling this particular two array, and here we are providing type here. Getting the point? It is expecting one parameter, and this parameter basically what is doing internally. Getting the point? This is the type of the particular array values we need to pass here. Whatever the array values we are going to pass internally, it will return the same array. Okay, so this is not required most of the cases, we are not going to use. Okay, but observe carefully what we are doing is we are going to provide the parameter as a type array, and we are going to return same type array. Okay, so this is we need to understand, it is trying to throw in some exception, array store exception, null pointer exception. Okay, we'll see the implementation of each and every method, how it is implemented. Now if I'm going to explain, this is the default method. Okay, the collection interface also it's contain some of the default method. Now what is the default method name? To array, and now you can see it is a int function. Okay, int function. Inside the int function, what is the type we are expecting? Something like type array. Okay, so we are expecting type array, and from this particular type array we are calling generated dot apply method. Now if I'm going to open this particular to into function, now into function basically it is a one of the functional interface, because it is contain only one abstract method, something like apply. Okay, so now you can see it is expecting I value, and it is trying to returning this particular R. What is the R basically here? It is a generic type, so we are trying to return something. Okay, we are trying to return something. If we go to this particular the particular to array, now observe carefully. Here the to array method is passing as a functional interface type. Getting the point? Functional interface type, and internally we are calling this particular apply method. Okay, internally we are calling this particular apply method. Finally, we are calling the to array method. It's trying to expecting only one parameter. Okay, so if I'm going to show you this, so it is calling this. Okay, this particular to array internally it is calling here, and from this particular default we are calling one more to array method. Okay, so we'll discuss about the how this particular to array will going to call internally, because it is a default method. Now when this particular method is introduced from this particular 11 version onwards. Getting the point? So this is the method is implemented from the 11 version onwards here. Now you can see, so one more method, add e method. Add e method. So what we need to understand regarding this particular method here. This particular method is expecting the element. So the element we provided in the generic type here, and it is trying to return the boolean. So when this particular method will return the boolean, now we need to understand this. So you can see the return here. It will return the true if this particular collection change a result here. Now let me move on this. So now you can read this. The collection, if this particular collection changed as a result of this particular call. So we could not understand what exactly it is doing here. We'll try to read little bit from above values here. Ensure that this collection contain the specified elements here. If this particular collection contains the specified elements, what happens internally? It will not return the true value. Getting the point? It will not return this particular true value. So whenever we are trying to inserting every time as a new value, the value which is not already stored in this particular collection, then only we are going to get true. Otherwise, we are going to get false. This is important here. When we are calling this particular add method, whether this particular element is inserted into the collection or not, we can check with the help of this particular boolean. If this particular method is returning true, the method, the value, whatever the parameter, the element we are passing here, the element it's stored successfully in the collection. If it is written false, the element it is not stored into this particular collection. Okay, so this is only the behavior of this particular add method. Now internally, now you can see these many exceptions. These many exceptions it is going to throw here. First one is the unsupported operation exception, class class exception, null pointer exception, illegal argument exception, and illegal state exception here. Okay, these are all the different exceptions it's going to thrown by which method? It is a method called add method. Okay, so this is one of the important section I'm showing here, because basically if you are writing any custom message, like if you are trying to write any the custom method, you need to follow the same pattern here. You need to write this particular multi-line comment, and what is the purpose of this particular method will do. We need to write a few lines of this particular description about this particular method, and what is the parameter is taking, we need to write at the rate param, and what is the return value it is going to return like this, and if this particular method it will throw any exception, we need to write here. Okay, we need to throw this particular exception here. This is all about the one of the important method, because every time we'll call this particular add method here. In any class, we are going to use this particular add method. Okay, so now you can think about the how much this particular method is important. Now you can see remove object. So whatever the object we are going to pass here, this particular object is removed or not, how we can check with the help of this particular return value. If the object is removed successfully, it will return true. Otherwise, it will return false. Now you can see if an element was removed. If the element was removed, it will try to return as a true. Okay, and this particular method also, it's going to throw some exceptions. Class cats and null pointer and unsupported operation. Getting the point. So this is the remove method purpose here. And we'll see contains all. Now you can see here while call parameter we are using and what is the type we are making. So this is the interface type. Whatever the interface we are discussing, and this particular method we are going to provide as the same interface, and internally we are trying to providing while call argument here. So that what we can understand any type. So there is no restrictions here. Any type we can pass it. But what exactly the contains all method will do? Contains all method, what it will do? It will try to read this. So return the true if this particular collection contains all of the elements in the specified collection. Okay, all of the elements. If all of the elements are available inside this particular specified collection, so it will try to return true. Otherwise, it will return false. This is one of the important example we need to understand here. Now you can read this, we can easily understand what exactly this particular collection will do. What exactly this particular collection will do. And now you can read null pointer exception. Okay, class cast exception it is going to throw. Getting the point. So these are about the contains all method purpose here. So just we are going to check whether the object is available or not. And the same way add all method. So add all method, again you can see it is trying to have one condition here. So the generic condition we are providing it. Observe carefully. Even here we are using the while call, but whatever the type we are providing, it should extend internally this particular E. It should extend this particular E. This is one of the important example we need to understand here. So something like we are making the condition here, and we can add, like we can provide the collection of elements. It will call internally the add all method. If all the collection values are stored successfully, it will return true. If any one of the collection is fail, getting the point, it will return false here. It will return false. Now you can see this. Now you can read this particular, the purpose of this particular parameter adds all the elements in the specified collection. Getting the point. It's going to add all the collection of the elements in the specified collection. So to this particular collection here. Getting the point. Now when it will return true, now you can see if this collection changed as a result, when this particular collection is going to modify, in that case it will try to return the true, because any one of the element is going to modified, any one of the element is inserted, then we'll get as a true. Okay, so we'll identify this particular add all method internally by checking the implementation code, because so this is the right time to see whatever the code we define inside the particular each and every class, how it is going to work internally. Okay, by seeing the code we can easily understand what happening internally. So now I'm moving into another important method called remove all method. So we can use, by providing this particular all the collection values, we can try to remove all the elements from this particular collection. Okay, this is the purpose of this particular remove all method. Now again we are having default method remove if. Okay, remove if, and here what we are providing, predicate. Predicate we already discussed. This is one of the functional interface. Okay, every time it will try to check the boolean method. What is the boolean method we are having? Test method. Okay, we are having the test method. Now you can see here we are calling the test method filter dot test. So this is the filter, the reference of this particular predicate. We are calling the test method, and by passing this particular each dot next here. How we are getting it? Here we are calling the iterator, and this particular iterator, it is trying to return the each value, and based on this particular each value, now you can see how we are calling this particular has next. We are using this particular while loop here. We are using while loop. So by calling this particular while loop, the has next, every time it will return true if we are having more elements. So whenever we are having more elements, we are going to call this particular test method, and if it is returning true, we are calling the remove. Okay, we are calling the remove, and the remove true. So what is the, we are making this particular boolean parameter remove true or false here, and if it is removed here, successfully we are returning true. Okay, so this is the one of the default method, remove if, and we'll try to identify another retain all. Okay, this particular another important method called the retain all method. What it will do? So we'll try to see the description about this particular method here. What exactly the method internally it is doing it. So retains only elements in this collection that are containing, okay, that are contained in the specified collection. Whatever the collection of elements will contain inside this particular collection, so those elements, okay, if those elements are available, for example, here I'm going to provide some collection of values, because this particular parameter now it is expecting collection type. Whenever it is expecting collection type, what we can understand, we can provide the multiple parameters. Whenever I'm trying to providing this particular multiple values here, what we need to understand, if all the elements, those are already available in the specified collection, it will try to return the true here. It will try to return the true. Otherwise, it will not return any true. So simply, it will return the false. Okay. So this is the purpose of this particular retain all method. Now you can see. Now observe carefully. So class cast exception we are throwing it, and unsupported operation, and null pointer exception. Okay. Now internally, if you want to understand, so see this particular remove and contains method, because internally we are going to use this particular two methods. Whenever we are implementing this particular retain all method, internally we are going to call this particular remove and contains method as well. Okay, contains method is it's going to check the value, and the remove method it will try to remove the specified value here. Getting the point? So this is the internal implementation of this particular contain all method. Now we'll see clear method. So what exactly this particular clear method will do? It will try to remove all the elements from this particular collection. It will try to remove all the elements from this particular collection here. Now you can see equals method. Okay, equals method we identified from the multiple example. So just it will compare the object here with the current object. Whatever the object we are going to pass here, it will try to compare with the current object. So hash code, it will try to generate the each the particular object. It will try to generate the new hash code here. We'll see the hash code how it is implemented internally. Okay, so this also we'll try to see, and again this is the one more default method. Now what we need to understand here, if you are trying to call this particular split iterator, and internally it is expecting the current class, and with 0 index onwards it is trying to do the operations here. Now what exactly it will do this, if we read this information we can easily understand here, and it's going to create a one split iterator object over the elements in this particular collection here. Okay, we'll understand this particular split iterator how it is going to work internally. Okay, finally I will open this particular interface one more time. What are all the default method we are having? So each and every default method we are going to discuss here. Okay, so it is introduced from the 1.8 onwards, and the same way we are having one more method, stream method. Okay, so internally stream support dot stream we are calling, and we are going to call this particular split iterator, and we are passing false here. Okay, we'll discuss about what are the default method we are having, and this is the another default method, something like parallel.d method. The parallel stream method, what we need to understand here, so the differences between stream and parallel stream will identify here. So first we need to focus more on to this. So once we familiar with this, okay, so we identify these are all the collection interface contain the methods. Getting the point? These are all the important method, because these are all the methods only we are going to use in all the interfaces and implementation classes here. So by seeing this particular each and every method, we are understanding the purpose of this particular method here. Okay. Now what we will do, we are going to provide the another important information called abstract classes here, because now we identify the collection interface. Now we identify the collection interface. Now we'll move on to the abstract collection. So we are having one of the important abstract class here. Abstract collection. Now you can see what exactly this particular abstract collection will contain. Now if you observe carefully, this particular abstract collection internally it is implementing from this particular collection interface. Okay, it is implementing from this particular collection interface. Now if you see what happening internally, this is the abstract class we are having, abstract collection, and it is implementing from this particular collection. So what are all the methods are implemented and what are all the methods still they are making as a abstract. This is the protected constructor. Okay, this is the protected constructor we are having. Now you can see the same iterator they are making as an abstract, size also they are making an abstract, and is empty. Okay, is empty. So now if you observe carefully how they are implementing is empty method, internally they are calling the size method, and if the size is equals to 0, because size it is going to return int value. Here we can see int it is returning this particular size. If this particular size it is returning something like 0, we can call it as a this is empty method, it will returning true, otherwise it will return false here. But what we need to understand, we are using this particular like a double equals to operator. Okay, we are using double equals to operator here. Now understand here contains method. Okay, whatever the contains method we have discussed here, where it is contains all here. Where is the contains method? Remove, add. Oh, so this method is removed. Okay, somewhere we missed this particular contains method. Now observe carefully, contains method is expecting object one parameter, and internally we are calling iterator. And now observe carefully, again we are using the double equal operator. So if this particular O it is equals to null, we are doing this particular section of code. And if it is not null, we are moving into while, we are calling has next, and every time we are checking the equals method. And if it is contained, we are returning true, otherwise we are going to return false. So this is the contains method implementation. Okay, it's a simple one. So every time we are doing the while loop here. Here also we are doing the while loop here, because here we are checking the next value null, but here we are not checking the next value. Here we are calling the again equals method, because this particular object and whatever the object we are going to get from this particular next, both objects are should match here. When only we are returning true, otherwise we are returning this particular false here. Okay, so this is the simple implementation of this particular contains method. Okay, and now we'll see and to array method. So just we are trying to converting into object array. How we are converting it? Now you can see, so based on this particular object array we are creating first, because this is an array type. First only we need to create an array. Getting the point? This is the object related, like array related example we discussed multiple. So we cannot create at the end of this. So first we need to create an object of this particular array, and later we'll try to insert the value. But how we are trying to inserting it? Again we are calling the iterator. Again we are calling this particular iterator, and internally we are using this particular loop. Why we are using this particular loop here? Because here this is the condition. Okay, so this is the condition we are making here, r dot length here. Whenever we are making this particular r dot length, so this based on this particular size, this particular loop is going to repeat here. And whenever it is repeating, observe carefully. If we don't have this particular next value, basically has next, basically it will return true or false. If it is returns true, this not condition we are using, the not condition, it's going to work on the opposite manner, something like a false. If it is returning false, now we'll call this particular statement. Otherwise, every time we are getting the next value, the next value, if you observe carefully inside this particular R, what is an R here? It is an object array. And what is an I basically here? It is a index here. Okay, whatever the next value we are getting, so the particular next value I'm trying to store into this particular I. Okay, inside this particular R, with help of this particular I is playing a role here, index role. Okay, so this is important. So because of this, I explained multiple times. So we need to be very carefully on the arrays concepts here. So if you are familiar with this particular array concepts here, most of the collection framework classes they are going to use this particular concept here. Okay, now this is we are trying to store all the elements into this particular object array. So once we store here, what we are doing is we are trying to call the ternary operator here. We are calling this particular ternary operator. Now you can see question mark and colon. So using this particular line, we are going to returning the particular statements here. Okay. So if this particular has next, so still it is returned true. Still it is returns true. What happens internally? We are going to call this particular finish to array, and by passing this particular r comma it. Okay. Otherwise, we are going to return this particular r. Okay, so we are going to return this particular. Most of the cases here only it will complete. Most of the cases here only it will complete this particular loop. In case if we miss something, anything, we are going to call one more has next here. And if the has next is returning true, we are calling this particular finish method. Otherwise, simply we are returning this particular r here. Okay, so this is the two array internally is implemented like this. Where we implemented inside this particular abstract collection. Okay, so now you can say one more two array. So this is expecting type here, and internally they are using this is the some big length of code here. Now you can see they are creating the new instance, get class, get component type. Based on that, again they are using the same loop and condition. So they are checking the some different condition with this. So array copy and system copy. Getting the point. Based on this, they are trying to do the some copy related section here. Okay. So this is again they are calling the finish to array, or they are trying to return this particular r. So it's something like similar to whatever the above method we discussed here. And now you can see integer the max array size. Okay, this is the max array size. How we are making it? Integer dot max value. What is the integer dot max value we are having right now? If I'm going to open, this is the format they are using to find out the max value. Now based on this, okay, based on this they are trying to do the -8 here. So basically it is a one static variable they implemented inside this particular integer class. Okay, so this is the max array value. Now finish to array, this is the private method. We don't need to discuss about this because this method internally it will call this. Okay, now you can see this is also one more private method we are having. Now add method. Observe carefully whatever the add we discuss here, it is expecting it, but finally we are trying to throw an exception. Okay, we are trying to throw an exception, but this is not the correct implementation here. This is not the correct implementation. So where this particular correct implementation we provided here inside the each and every implementation classes. Okay, because it is a abstract class here. Whatever the class we are discussing, it is an abstract class. So this is the default implementation we can consider. But this particular add method, now it is going to override in our one of the implementation class, like proper implementation class. This particular class, it is not implemented properly. And now you can see remove method. How we are calling this particular remove method? So same thing, we are calling the iterator and we are getting the has next value and we are checking the remove. The remove method we are calling. So it.remove. Getting the point. It. What is the it here? Iterator. So I discuss here, iterator can contain the one of the default method called remove method. We are calling the same iterator remove method. So here also we are doing same. But what is the differences? If this particular object is null, this section of code is going to execute. Otherwise, this section of code is going to execute here. Okay. So this is the remove method. Now observe carefully contains all method. So we are calling the one loop. Okay, simply we are calling one loop here and we are checking this particular contains method internally and if the contains not returning true, simply we are returning the false, otherwise we'll return true. Okay, so this is the simple implementation of contains all. Now we'll understand the add all. Add all also, now observe carefully, we are calling the for each concept here because it is a loop we are calling. So inside the loop, every time we are calling this particular add method. Okay, every time we are calling add method. So contains all, add all. What happens internally? Based on the loops here, it will try to call the same method here. And now you can see remove all. Remove all also internally they are using the while loop and they are calling every time remove method. So it dot remove method here. Okay, so this is a simple whatever the code we are discussing here, it is a we can easily understandable what are the implementation is done inside this particular abstract collection. So if we observe carefully the return all method internally, so it's checking the contains method and it is checking the remove method. If the specified object is not available, the object is going to remove. Whatever the object is contained inside this particular collection, those objects were not doing anything, and some of the objects does not contain in the collection, so those objects are going to remove from this particular collection here. Okay, so this is all about the retain all method. Now understand here clear method. So clear method, now you can see again the clear also internally it is using the while loop and internally it is trying to remove the all the element here one by one, it is going to remove here. Getting the point? So now you can understand here how much the important we need to understand regarding this particular loop concept. We discuss about the while loop, do while, for loop. So each and every concept we are using, but most of the iterator cases here we are trying to use the while loop, and remaining cases we are trying to use the for each concept here. Okay, and finally this is all about the two string here. This is all about the two string we implemented here. Okay, so this is one of the important section we discussed in the last session, string builder, how this particular string builder is creating it, and we are calling the append method. And every time we are calling the append method, and we are calling finally two string. The two string it will try to return the string object here. Okay, so any questions regarding this particular abstract collection? So whatever the method we are having inside this abstract collection, we identified some of the implementation, some of them are they make as a still abstract here. Anyone having any questions regarding any implementations or what they are doing implementation sections? Okay, so if we don't have anything, now what I will do, we have another class here. Getting the point? We have another class. Before going to discuss about the another class, first what I need to discuss here, another interface we need to discuss here. So because here, how it is implementing like abstract collection internally, it is trying to implement like this. Collection E. Okay, so this is we identified abstract collection, and now one more interface I am going to discuss here, something like a list interface. Okay, this is the another interface. Now what I will do, I'm going to first we'll see the what are all the information we are having inside this particular list interface. Okay, now you can see this is the another interface we are having called list, and internally it is extending from this particular collection. Whenever it is extending from this particular collection, so far whatever we are discussed here, all the methods by default, getting the point, all the method by default it is available into this particular list interface. Okay, now we need to understand the what are all the specific methods. What are all the specific method we are having inside this particular list interface. Okay, so this is one of the important interface we need to understand here. What exactly this interface will do first. Okay, I'm requesting everyone try to Getting the point? Try to go to this particular each and every class concept information so that you will understand what exactly the class and interface it will try to implement internally. Okay. So now you can see an order collection known as a sequence here. Getting the point? So this particular list interface will give you the order collection related section here. So whatever the data we are trying to insert in here, the same way we are going to get the data here. Getting the point? And now you can read the user of this particular interface has a precise control over when the list is like where in the list each element is inserted. Getting the point? So we are having the size. Getting the point? Because we are going to work on the index order. This particular list interface basically it will try to contain the indexes. Based on this particular indexes, all the values are going to insert it. So whenever we are trying to work on this particular indexes, how we are inserting, the same way we are going to load the data here. Okay. So this is the simple purpose of this particular list interface. Now I'm suggesting try to read this particular two paragraphs. You can easily understand what exactly the list interface will do. And these are all the written types of this particular the each and every method what we are having internally. So code add method, remove method, equals method, iterated method, hash code method. Okay, we already discussed each and every method. So most of the methods are common because we already extending from the collection here. Okay, now we'll try to identify what are all the specific method we are having. What are all the specific method, and we need to understand the implementation classes. So array list, linked list, and vector. Okay, vector. These are all the implementation classes, and we need to understand the as list. As list also internally it will try to return the something like a object array type, or we can call it as a list type. Okay. Now you can see. So we need to focus more on the abstract list. Okay, and abstract sequential list. These are all the abstract classes. These are all the abstract classes. Now you can say another collections empty list. It is the static variable it is. Okay, so it is giving the suggestion to see these are all the information because these are all the information. It is depending on this particular list interface here. Okay, these are all about the one of the important section we need to understand here. Now observe carefully what we understand here. This particular list basically it will try to give you the one of the important example called order here. So how we are going to provide this particular way, the same way we are going to get here. Okay, the same way we are going to get an information here. Now we'll understand this particular list interface. Getting the point. What are all the specific method we are having? Now you can see size method we already discussed, is empty we already discussed here, contains we already discussed here, iterator we already discussed here. So two are here. Okay, and this particular two are also we already identified here. Now add method. This particular add method we already added inside this. Now you can see boolean add element here. This is add method. Now it is coming from the collection interface. And remove method. Okay, now you can see contains all method and add all method. So these are all the common method which is coming from the collection. But this particular method is a specific method which is added inside this particular list interface here. Okay, this is the specific method which is added inside this particular list interface. What exactly it is doing is based on this particular index, the collections elements are going to store. So it's like yesterday we discussed about the insert method, set caret method. Okay, insert method is expecting first parameter, offset like a index parameter, and the set caret method, the first parameter is also expecting index information. After that, we are providing the caret information or we are providing the object related parameter. Okay, same way here also we are having this particular add all, and first parameter we are providing the index information in the which index we want to store this particular collection element. In which index we want to store, we can provide this particular index, and the remaining collection parameter is same. Okay, this is the purpose of this particular This is the purpose of this particular collection. One of the important method called add all method. And we'll see this implementation section here. Now remove all. Remove all already we discussed here. Now you can see here we are having remove all method. Now observe carefully. Retain all also we discuss here. Now what we need to understand here, replace all. So I already explained here. Default method we'll try to discuss later. Now you can see this is the one of the operator which is introduced 1.8 onwards here. The unary operator internally it is extending from this particular function. Okay, so what they are doing, it is a static method. It is a static method we are having here. Get in the pen. We are going to call this particular identity. It will try to return like this. Okay, it will try to return this particular t value. We'll discuss more about this particular the default method later. Now first we'll move on to the what are all the abstract method we are having. Now you can see, so this is also sort method. Sort method which is coming from the 1.8 onwards. Okay, now observe carefully. Whenever we are making the return type as a collection, we cannot use this particular sort method. Okay, when we are using this particular list, then only we can go for this particular sort method. Because the default method is implemented inside this particular list interface. What they are doing internally, they are calling arrays.sort method by passing this particular comparator. Now, what we need to understand here, after this, they are doing for each loop, they are calling the next and they are trying to set here. Okay, they are trying to set. We have a one set method. Okay, we'll discuss about the set method, how it is going to call. Now you can see clear method we are having. Okay, equals method we are having. And so hash code, these are all the common method we already discussed coming from the, these are all the methods are coming from the collection interface. But this particular method is a specific method. Now it is implemented inside this particular, like it is added inside the list interface. So what exactly it is doing here? Okay, what exactly it is doing? Now you can read this, we can easily understand here. So it returns the element at the specified position of this particular list. Okay, whenever we are providing this particular index here, based on this particular index here, we are going to get an element here. Okay, whatever the element is resides, it's like a caret method. So in the string class, we discuss the caret method. If you provide the position, the particular character, it will return. Same way, if you provide this particular position, we are going to get an object here. Okay, we are going to get an object here. So this is the purpose of this particular get method. Now you can see, because most of the methods similar to the string, because internally string, it is going to work as a byte array. So here also we are going to use same multiple elements here. Okay, now observe carefully. So set method. Set method. What exactly the set method is doing? Set method is a similar to the inset method. Okay, set method is a similar to the inset method. What we need to understand here? What we need to understand? This is the index we are providing, something like a position we are providing, and this particular element is going to store. This particular element is going to store. Okay, so each and every method, as I explained here, it is going to throw some exceptions based on the values what we are going to store. Okay, these are all the three methods we are having as of now. Specific method. Now you can see add method. This is the specific add method which is added inside this particular list interface. Now observe carefully what we are doing. So we are trying to providing the position and element. Okay, we are trying to providing the two parameters. First one is the position, second one is the element. Now you can see both the method are doing same. Set method also is expecting two parameters, and add method also is expecting two parameters. But what is the differences we need to understand here? The difference is basically, get in the pen. The difference is basically here, add method is not returning anything. Set method is trying to return whatever the element we set it into the particular collection. Okay, whatever the element we set it into this particular collection, the particular collection is now returned by this particular set method. and the add method basically it is not returning anything. So it's a simple void type here. Now we'll move on to the another method. So remove method. If we observe carefully, here we are having the remove method. Okay, line number 8 we are having remove method. So again, this is the specific remove method, and what we are passing here, index we are passing. Something like a position we are passing, and whenever we are passing this particular position, the object is going to remove based on this particular position. And here it is trying to providing the E. So E is nothing but element here. And what we can understand here, whatever the object is going to remove from the collection, the object is returning here. And here, simply if the object is removed here, it is trying to return true. It is trying to return true. Okay. This is one of the important example we need to understand the differences between the collection remove method and list remove method. Collection remove method and list remove method. This is the important information. Now you can see index of method. So index of method, we no need to discuss more about this particular index of, because in the string we already identified the index of method multiple times here. Index of method basically, whenever we are providing this particular object, it will try to return the position. It will try to return the position where it is exactly available here. Okay. So this is all about the index of method, and now we can see last index of also we are having. Okay, same two methods what we discussed in the inside this particular string classes. Now you can see this is the another iterator we are having. So this will call it as a list iterator. So what is the differences between iterator and as well as this particular list iterator? If I'm going to explain this particular list iterator, this is also one of the interface. This is one of the interface. Now you can see it is trying to extend from this particular iterator. Okay, it is trying to extend from this particular iterator. What is some additional method we are going to have this particular list iterator, because these are the two which is coming from the iterator, and these are all the two specific to this particular list iterator. Something like has previous, previous, and has next and next information. These two methods are coming from the which interface? Something like iterator. Okay, and list iterator is added some additional methods here. So something like first one is a has previous and another one is a previous here. Okay, now here we are having next index here. Getting the pen? Next index. So what is the next the element we are going to access here? The element to index information is just going to provided by the next index here. And the same way previous index. Okay, previous index and remove method and set method. Okay, add method. So see here what is the differences here. The add method and set method here, because set is also expecting E and add also is expecting E, and it is not returning anything, and it is not returning anything. But why we need to specify two? Getting the point? Why we need to specify these two here? So if you read this, we can easily understand. So replace the last element written by the next year. Okay, it's going to replace the whatever the next element is going to return here. But here it is not going to replace here. So it is not going to replace here. So it will try to insert here. Getting the point? So replace is different, inserting is different. Inserting is nothing but new elements we are going to insert. And the set method basically it will try to replace the elements here. Okay, so this is the differences between set and add method we are having inside this particular list iterator. Okay, list iterator can contain some additional methods like has previous, previous, getting the point, next index, previous index, and remove method, set and add method. These are all the specific methods which are added inside this particular list iterator. Okay, so this is one of the important section we need to understand here. Now we'll copy this also, list iterator. We need to focus more onto this particular list iterator, how it is going to work internally. Okay, now back to here, what we can understand here, it is expecting this particular list iterator and with help of this particular index here. Okay, we'll try to identify how this particular method also it is implemented internally. Only the difference is the above method it is not going to take any parameter. The below method it will try to take one parameter. Okay, now observe carefully another important here, sublist. Sublist here. And here, what is the type we are having? List type basically. Okay, what is the type we are having? List. So why I am explaining each and every method basically? This is very, very important here. If you are practicing multiple times, we can easily understand the each and every method purpose here. Then we can easily write any application. So by applying this particular methods here. Okay, these are all the important method we need to understand here. These are all the sublet basically based on this particular index here, from index and into index here. So it's like a substring. Whatever the substring we discuss in the string class, same way we are having this particular sublist. Okay, what is doing internally? It is trying to providing the between the whatever the elements we are going to have, the elements are going to return here. Okay, internally it will try to create a new list and it will try to return the values here. Okay, it will try to return the values here. So this is one of the important example we need to understand sublist here. Now observe carefully once we define this particular sublist here. Now you can see split iterator. We already discussed this is the default method. We'll discuss later how it is going to work. And now observe carefully. So in the 9 version onwards, we are having off method. Okay, OF off method. We'll see what exactly it will do. And this is also overloaded method. Okay, is expecting one element. It is not expecting anything. Now if I'm going to expand here, it is expecting two elements and it is expecting three elements. Okay, and it is expecting four elements here. And it is expecting something like, I hope, five elements. Three, four, yes, five elements here. And this is something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 elements. And so now you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 here. So something like each parameter is now updating here. It is something like overloaded method. 9 parameters. Okay, so 10 parameters. And finally, varchar here. Okay, this is the varchar concept here. So you can see they are using the switch here based on this particular length here. Okay, based on this particular length, it is trying to call this. If it is 0, it is calling empty list. If it is a 1, it is trying to call this particular 12. And internally, it is also calling 12. And if it is default, it is calling n. Okay, this is the varchar implemented here. And copy of method is implemented in the version 10 onwards. Getting the point? Version 10 onwards. So you can see the each and every method when it is implemented here. Okay, so off methods are implemented in the 9 version and copy of method is implemented in the 10 version. So what we are doing here basically, so simply we'll provide this particular elements here and internet is calling the list copy and it is trying to return list of elements here. Okay, it's something like one more object we are going to get here. Okay, one more object we are going to get. So these are all the one of the important example we are discussing and these are all the specific method we are having inside this particular list here. So if you see each and every method, he is expecting parameter. The parameter is something like index here. Okay, parameter something like index here. Getting the point? This is one of the important example we need to understand here. Okay, this is the one of the important example we need to understand how this particular example it is going to work. So any questions here regarding this particular list interface as well as the collection interface so far what we discussed here? Okay, So if we don't have anything, so I'm going to stop the session here. We'll continue tomorrow regarding this particular, the abstract list we'll discuss first. Later, we'll move on to the another interface here. Okay. So interface with implementation, the abstract class. So implementation classes we'll discuss later. First, we'll move on to the interface and abstract classes. And once we are familiar with the interface and abstract classes, later we'll move on to the implementation classes here. The implementation classes can contain a lot of information here. Okay. So this is the section of this particular collection framework. We'll continue tomorrow.